Let me start this class from a very advanced point, from a very Haskalah point. If you're familiar with Chassidus, you know that B'derech Klal, as a rule, Chassidus speaks about three levels of Oyer, three levels in Elokus. Maamar Kol Almin, Seviv Kol Almin, and Atzmas Ein Sof, which is called Gilui, Helim, and Etzem, as I discussed at length last week. Maamar Kol Almin means the godliness that reaches the world according to the world's containment. Seviv Kol Almin is the godliness that doesn't reach the world according to the world's containment, but it's meant to reach the world. And Atzmas Ein Sof is the godliness that's not meant to reach the world at all because it's in a state of etzem. Its existence is not in relationship with the world, but in relationship with itself. In other words, Maamar Kol Almin is connected to the world. Seviv Kol Almin, that's what the words Kol Almin denote, the connection to the world. Atzmas Ein Sof has no connection to the world. This is standard. There are many aspects to this, but just to give you one, is that these three aspects, Maamar, Seviv, and Atzmus, would be Tzimtzum, Noga B'Yad Tzimtzum, and Loi Noga B'Yad Tzimtzum Klal. You have this in the Madam of the Rebbe, of course, and there's Madam Akemist, where these in Yonim are brought in Chassidus. Maamar Kol Almin is a light that was actually affected and changed by the Tzimtzum itself. It was Nistalik, and it's Chozav V'Heir through a Bekiah, and so on. Seviv Kol Almin doesn't go through the Tzimtzum, but it's changed by the Tzimtzum. That because there's the Tzimtzum, Seviv is Behelim in relationship with the world. Atzmas Ein Sof is Lei Noga B'Yad Tzimtzum Klal. It's not affected by the Tzimtzum at all. Now, this is not Mo'er, so you can't say that it's Behiz Galus, but it's Nimtza in the Makam HaCholul. It's found where the worlds are found without any change whatsoever. It's a standard. This Maamar has a fourth level, and that's what's unusual about this Maamar. There's the three levels of what does he call them inside? Havaya and Hu and Ato, which would basically be Maamar Kol Almin and Seviv Kol Almin and Atzmas Ein Sof. And then there is what he calls Ein Sof Hamalubish B'Radlo. How in each of these three levels there is Ein Sof. So in Kesed there's three Reishin, like we discussed at length last week. The lowest Reish is called Moicha, Mechin Stimoin, Chochmas Stimoin. The middle Reish is called Galgalta or Kesed Shebekesed. The highest Reish is Pnimius HaKesed called Radlo, Reish Adlos Yadeh. And above all three is Ein Sof Hamalubish B'Radlo, a fourth level. And the Rebbe brought last class that in some places it's understood from Kabbalah that this level of Ein Sof Hamalubish B'Radlo is in each of the three levels of Etzem, Helim, and Gilui, Etzem, Seviv, and Maamar. And in this Maamar, there seems to be an emphasis that this fourth level, Ein Sof Hamalubish B'Radlo, is found primarily in the Radlo, in the highest level of the three. It's the fourth level of Ein Sof. It's important to underscore that when you say three levels of godliness, Maamar, Seviv, Etzem, or Tzimtzum, Noga B'Yad Tzimtzum, and Lei Noga B'Yad Tzimtzum Klal, you don't only mean that in the lower world you have one level, and in the higher world you have a higher level, and in the highest world you have the highest level. You mean that in each and every world you have all three levels. In this world there's Maamar, and Seviv, and Atzmas Ein Sof. And the same is true in Atzilos, the same is true in Ak. Every single world has all three levels. Now naturally a higher world is going to be in tune to the godliness in a better way, in a more precise way, in a more revealed way. But in every single level of Seder Ishtalshos there's going to be Etzem, Helim, and Gilui. Etzem and Seviv and Maamar. Our Maamar adds Ein Sof Hamalubish B'Radlo, a fourth level. And the concept of Ein Sof Hamalubish B'Radlo is godliness that is above any form of godliness altogether. So last week we talked about this quite a bit, and I want to discuss this further. What is this fourth level of godliness as it's distinct from the first three levels of godliness? So in today's Shia, the Rebbe is going to use a variety of different forms or expressions or contexts to explain the difference between the first three levels, Maamar, Seviv, and Etzem. Or what does he call them? Mizgalem, Misalem, and Nimtza. and this fourth level. But the most important example, the most important illustration of how this fourth level of godliness, which is called Ein Seif HaMalubish B'Radlo, is different than the first three, is found at the very bottom of page Nun Gimel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. We're going to read the bottom of page Nun Gimel and the top of page Nun Daled first. Then we're going to go back and we're going to learn the Maamar in order from the beginning of Perikid Aleph, and I plan in Mitzvah Hashem to finish this Maamar today. I really thought this Maamar would take 4 shiur, and this is actually our 5th shiur. So let me again repeat what I've just shared. All over Chassidus, it's classic that there's 3 levels, Mamale, Seviv, and Atzmas Ein Sof. This Maamar adds a 4th level called Ein Seif HaMalubish B'Radlo, which is removed from all 3 levels of Elokus. There's a variety of different details that our Maamar is going to bring to help enhance or help enlighten what this 4th level is, but we're going to read the bottom of page Nun Gimel, the top of page Nun Daled as an opener to today's class, because I think the most explicit, the most clear, and the most absolute understanding of this 4th level is in this paragraph. So let's go, reading it inside, okay? V'yesh leimar, says the Rebbe, Da'atam al zeh, the reason. Shaydei hamshachas pnimius atik, by bringing down pnimius atik, which in this Maamar is Ein Sof HaMalubish B'Radlo. Says the Rebbe, Gili Elokus B'Kol Mokum, godliness is going to be revealed everywhere. Says the Rebbe in plain words, Ki pnimius atik hu b'klos atzmas ein sof. Because pnimius atik is atzmas ein sof. But in this case, atzmas ein sof doesn't mean oir. Atzmas ein sof means the Eibishter. The Eibishter himself. There's 3 levels of light, Mamale, Seviv, Etzem, and of course there's so many levels within these 3 levels. The Ein Seif HaMalubish B'Radlo is not a level of godliness, it's basically, for lack of words, how God is found in godliness. How the Eibishter himself is found in the creation. Says the Rebbe, the Legabe Atzmus, turn to page Nadal, we're talking about the Eibishter himself. Ein Shum Mitzias Shechutz Mimena, there's nothing outside of him. In other words, the difference between the first 3 levels of godliness and this 4th level of godliness, which is called Ein Seif HaMalubish B'Radlo, is not a difference in degree. It's a difference that's absolute. Why? So we talk about this all the time. When you say Gilui Elokus, when you say that godliness should be revealed, so there's 2 ideas. The first idea is that godliness is over there, and I am over here, and the light is going to travel from over there to over there, over here, proverbially, whatever the context is. But the concept of Gilui Elokus is that you have 2 separate things. You have a source of light, you have a vessel that's going to receive the light, and you have the transmission from that source to that vessel, which is the revelation of that light. But that's only true in Giluyim. That's only true in the interactive model. It's only true in as much as you're talking about the relationship between the Eibishter and the world, where there's 2 things, world and Eibishter. And that applies to Mamale Kalalman, Nizgala. It applies to Seviv Kalalman, Nisalim. And it applies to Atzmas Ein Sof, Nimtza. But it doesn't apply to Hashem. Why not? Because the Rebbe says, Ein Shum Mitzias Chutz means nothing outside of him. V'adrabah, moreover, Amitit Himotze Yizbarach, the truth of the Eibishter's existence, Hu HaMitzias shall call it him. The reason everything exists is because of him. The truth of all creation is his truth. In other words, it's not Ein Sof HaMalubish B'Radlo, it's not a revelation. The light of Hashem is shining from point A to point B. Ein Seif HaMalubish B'Radlo is the revelation of God. And God is everything, and God is everybody, and God is everywhere. All time, all space, all matter. And accordingly, when there's a revelation of this highest level, Pnimius Atik, which is Ein Seif HaMalubish B'Radlo, the 4th level of godliness, Yenirgesh b'chol davar, everything senses about itself, shehu mitziyusei hu elokus, that its reality is itself godliness. Not that its reality comes from godliness, not that its reality receives from godliness, but that its reality is godliness. And then the Rebbe goes on to talk about Shlomo, which we'll get to later on in the Maamar. This handful of lines that we just read, I'm going back now to Nun Gimel, explain absolutely how this fourth idea, Ein Seif HaMelubash Beradla, about which this Maamar obsesses, right? And in the language of the Maamar, it is revealing a level which is L'mayla Minyan HaAshiras, above wealth. Wealth is the highest thing. Like the Rebbe said in the Maamar, if a person has wealth, and you can give him more wealth than the wealth he already has, and he's not wealthy yet. So wealth is an absolute category of richness. And there's something which is L'mayla Minyan HaAshir, something which is even higher than wealth. Now what could possibly be higher than wealth if wealth means that you can't give him any more? So the answer is the criteria of richness associated with wealth is that you collect it, that you have it, even if it's an awful lot. This fourth level is not a question of collecting it, it's not a question of having it, it's what you are. It's the place where creation and creator become one and the same. And in as much as creation and creator become one and the same, in the words of the Maamar, the Eibishter is everywhere, the Eibishter is everything, and as a consequence, the revelation of godliness is in everything as it relates to that thing itself. Now, we're going to talk about this more later. Bli neder, that's the plan, of course. But I hope to say now two introductory ideas to help understand what we just said. In other words, these few lines that we just read that explain Ein Seif HaMelubash Beradla as not being a higher level of light, but being the truth with a capital T, the Eibishter himself. And when it comes to the Eibishter himself, there's no here and there's no there, there's no two. And when the Eibishter himself is revealed, the whole reality is the Eibishter. There are two aspects, two thoughts that I want to share to help this come a little closer to our comprehension. The first is the concept of Madani, and the second is the idea which is brought in Hasidus from the Rebbe Marash, that the ultimate revelation of the Asad Love will be not that the Yesh HaNivra will become ayin and bottled to the Yesh HaAmiti, but that the Yesh HaNivra will reveal that it itself is the Yesh HaAmiti. And I'm going to talk about each one of these things in turn. I'm going to start with the first, Madani. I would imagine that we're all familiar with Madani, right? Madani begins in the Hayom Yom. To be sure, and I might as well advertise on my website, insidechassidus.org, I have a number of classes in my Tefillah section of Madani. I'd love for you to visit and listen and enjoy and share. The Madani prayer was introduced in the Seder Hayom. The Seder Hayom was a Makubal, a Kabbalist, who was a Talmidei of the Arizal, a disciple of the Arizal. And the explanation for introducing the Madani, as is brought in Shulchan Aruch, is that because when people sleep, their hands are not clean, and their mouths are not clean, and they may not properly be covered, so you no longer wanted to say Elokai Neshama, which was the Madani of old. Before Madani was invented, people used to say in bed, Elokai Neshama, Shem Sata B'Teherehi, Ad Devrasa, and then it would finish, Reifei Kol Basar, Mafli Lases, Machaber Ruchnias V'Gashmias. So when it was decided that a Yid can no longer say a bracha, b'shem malchus, or Hashem's name in bed, because Hayadayim Askanias and so on and so forth, so the Seder Hayom introduced Madani, which has no Shem Kaddish. It's 10 words, right? And none of the words are Hashem, or Elokeinu, or Elokim, or Tzvakes, or Shaka, or anything of the sort. It's Madani Lefanecha, the Eibush is called Lefanecha. Melech Chai V'Kayim is called the living and existent God, which could apply to anybody else, right? And the Eibush is not identified by name. So on the Nigla level, the superficial level, Madani was introduced because we could no longer say Hashem's holy name in bed, so we're saying something which doesn't have Hashem's name. The Hayom Yom, of course, observes the exact opposite extreme. All the spiritual uncleanness in the world cannot contaminate the Madani of a Jew. What's the concept? The concept is that in the relationship between Yid and Hashem, there's a number of levels. A Yid can be connected with his heart. A Yid can be connected with his senses. A Yid can be connected with his mind. If your connection to Hashem is through your emotions, or through your senses, or through your mind, there are criteria, there are rules for the connection. And those rules involve many aspects of preparation, many aspects of achana. If you're going to have a healthy and constructive relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to have to be pure, you're going to have to be clean, you have to be in tune, and you're going to have to also be consistent, not flip-flopping, not running to the Eibishter and running to L'umazeh, because then you can't have a relationship. And there are all kinds of the criterium laws that govern what it means to have a relationship with the Eibishter from your heart or your mind or your senses. They're limited relationships. They have rules. And if a person steps outside those bounds, they lose that relationship. In other words, when a person is involved with tumah, heipech hatahara, so then the relationship that they have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu through their moyach, or through their chush, or through their lev is compromised. And then you have a relationship that a yid has with the Eibishter, which comes from the pshitas of the person, the deepest level of the neshama. Externally, the deepest level of the neshama is called the munah pshuta, or tmimus, sincerity. There's a concept which is brought in Maamar Chassidus called tomim b'maisav, a person whose sincerity shows itself only in action. It's mentioned in Eter and mentioned a few places in Ayin Beis. A tomim b'maisav is somebody who has yechidah shebenefesh revealed in his simplicity, in his pashtas. When a yid is holding a madrega of tomim b'maisav, no tumah can touch it. If you have a relationship with Hashem, and the relationship with the Eibush is based on absolute simplicity. It's not intellectual, it's not emotional, it's not based on the senses. It's based on the tmimus, the simple tmimus of a yid. There's no constraint when it comes to this tmimus. It has no limits. Like the famous story and quote from the Rebbe, I think there's even a tape of it, where President Zalman Shazar said to the Rebbe that the Russian Jews who came are Zeir Greis Amaratzim, aber Zeir Erliche Yidden. They're very great ignoramuses, they're very ignorant, they know nothing, but they're very sincere. So the Rebbe said, the Rebbe de Schwer hat nicht vertragen, dem Loschen am Oretz, vielleicht sagen, ish poshut. Und vielleicht meistens sein, as the Pshitas von ish poshut, der Lion, the Pshitas von Atzma Seisov. The Rebbe responded that the previous Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe, did not tolerate the expression am ha'aretz ignoramus. He would say instead a simple person. And he would add that the simplicity of a simple Jew reaches the simplicity of Atzma Seisov. And of course, you know the stories that are printed in the back of the Tilim about these Balei Melacha who would say Tilim 5 times a day. And some of them didn't even know the halachas of where you're allowed to say Dava Sheba Kedusha, where you're not allowed to say Dava Kedusha. Like, for example, when they were cleaning up the manure of the animals, nobody told them that when you have a Re'ech Ra, you're not allowed to say Tilim. And they would just continue doing their thing. And yet their koyach of Amiras Tilim was able to abolish decrees that somebody else's koyach could not abolish at all. Because there is a level of tmimus, there's a level of plainness in the relationship between the Yid and the Eibishter, where kol ha-tumah shebe'elam rida nisht. Tumah and tahara touch a relationship that has a form. To have a relationship with the Eibishter based on a certain construct, on a certain style, if you will, a certain form, requires certain requisites, and one of them is tahara. And if the tahara is missing, the brain doesn't work right, the heart doesn't work right, the senses don't work right, and the relationship isn't there. But when the relationship is coming from the pnimius of the person, from the tmimus of a person, tumah never touches it in the first place. That's the concept of a tomim b'maisav, of an ish pashut, and so on. And of course, the argument of the Hayem Yayim, which is of course then developed at great length in the classic Sikha of the Rebbe in Yonesh Shel Teres Achsidus, where Madani becomes the platform, Madani becomes the context through which the Yonesh Shel Teres Achsidus is delivered. And he explains that every Yid, when he wakes up in the morning, is holding on this level. In other words, even though we associate the tmimus of a ish pashut, was there lying to pshitas ha'atzmos, that kol ha'tumas shebe'elam cannot be mitameid to a certain kind of person, every one of us experiences that at certain moments in the day. When you open up your eyes in the morning, right, the Rebbe brings in the Sikha and told us in the base, you stir, you open your eyes, and you say Meidani. At that moment, even the most sophisticated and the most scholarly and people who during the course of the day will have very, very involved and meaningful and complex relationships with Hashem, using their mind, with their heart, with their senses, and so on, when they get up in the morning and you open your eyes, we're all tmimim. We're all in that place of simplicity. And the argument is, when you open your eyes in the morning and you say Meida Ani, again, assuming that you don't hit the snooze and roll over and then you have to wake up a second time and a third time and a fourth time and a fifth time, when you open your eyes initially and you say Madani, that's your simplicity which touches the simplicity of the Eibishter, and therefore you're able to say it in bed, even though the mouth isn't clean and your dayim askonius v'chulu v'chulu, because alle tumis shabe'elam ken nish metamazayin the Madani from a Yidden, all the spiritual uncleanness in the world doesn't reach the plainness of the Madani of every Jew, even a very sophisticated Jew. And as I mentioned briefly, in that Sikh from Tafshin Nun Beis, 1991 to 92, told us, the Rebbe introduces a new idea, which is that there's something even higher than the recitation of Madani, which is your self-awareness. Before you have a chance to say Madani, you have to be aware that you're awake. So the way the Rebbe breaks it down, when you're saying Madani, that's an expression of Yechidah. And when you're aware that you're awake, that's even higher than Yechidah. And if I may use these words, and this is very controversial and very not simple, before you say Madani, when you're awake and that you're aware that you're awake, at that moment what you're aware of is God. How everything is God, including you. And then when you say Madani, that's already an expression of being a little bit separated from the Eibishter. It's Yechidah Sheva Nefesh, as opposed to Yachid, which is higher than Yechidah. So Moida Ani, the way Chassidus explains it, is an expression of the simplest dimension of being a Jew. And the argument of the Madani and the simplicity of the Madani is that it reaches the simplicity of the Eivish, the simple truth of HaKadosh Baruch. Ein seif hamalubish beradla is al derech zeh, right? The idea that there's a fourth level of godliness. But the fourth level of godliness is not a fourth level. It's a different idea altogether. The first three levels are levels. One level is limited and revealed. Another level is infinite and therefore hidden. And the third level is absolute. If it's not hidden, it's not revealed. There's lamayla megedet helam begilui, eini bechinas helam kol kach, all kinds of wonderful expressions that the etzem ein sof is called. But it is a definition, it is a form. In other words, it's not known without a certain kind of receptor, a certain kind of preparation. The Ein Sof HaMalubish B'Radla is the simple truth, which everybody knows. But the simple truth is the highest truth, it's the most absolute truth. But when a Yid experiences Madani, he experiences the Eibishter himself. But it's unsustainable, right? What our Maamar is saying, that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a revelation of Ein Sof HaMalubish B'Radla. The Maamar is saying how the revelation of Ein Sof HaMalubish B'Radla is not going to be when you lay in bed, and when you wake up and get out of bed, that's gone. But it'll be infused into the lower three levels, the levels of Nimtza and Nisalim and Isgala, Etzem and Helim and Seviv Kalaman and Gilu, Mamalik Kalaman. In each of these levels, you're going to have a sense of this simple truth of the Eibishter, which is what Madani is, and therefore we're going to have a relationship with the Eibishter himself on a revealed way, as it's available to us through the various levels of our perception in our neshama, if you will. Now I want to move on to the second prefatory thought, which is the idea that the Rebbe Marash brings that the La'asid Lave, the Yesh HaNivra will reveal the Yesh HaAmiti. You know the discussion in Chassidus about Yeshus, right? Yeshus means independence. Yeshus means self-dependency, reliance on oneself. In English, you would call it self-reliant, yeah? The only Yesh is Hashem, because Hashem is independent. Hashem depends on nothing and no one. Everything else is entirely, not partially, but entirely dependent upon Him, and therefore, instead of being called Yesh, they're called Ayin. And Ayin is the antithesis of Yesh. Yesh means I need nothing but me, and Ayin means there is no I. All of I is from something else. And then, of course, there's the concept of Yesh HaNivra, the created Yesh, the created sense of independence, which, of course, is false. The idea that I need nothing and no one, that I'm self-sufficient and I'm self-contained and so on and so forth, is our perception, is our experience, but it's a lie. So of course Chassidus discusses the idea of bittul hayesh la'ayin, shayesh yebotl la'ayin, right? The Eibishter created a world. And the way the world was created is that in its own perception of self is self-sufficient, independent, and in need of nothing outside of itself. And through Avodah, you want to bring the world to become aware of its dependency, upon its need for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in as much as you reveal in the world its dependence and its need for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, instead of being a yesh, it becomes ayin. It acknowledges its need for the Eibishter and it submits. So the Rebbe Marash says that's not the highest idea. The idea that you can make this world discover its dependency upon the Eibishter, and as such stop being the yesh, the independent one that it is, and become instead ayin, is at the highest level. The highest level is that the yeshus of this world reveals itself to be the yeshus of the Eibishter himself. And this is explained in Hemshech Tafir Samach Aleph from the Rebbe Rashab. And if I understand it correctly, what it's trying to be explained is as follows. There's a notion of yeshus. There's a notion of existing by yourself. The notion of yeshus is a property of the Eibishter, of God. Nobody else has that property. Why? Everything else is dependent. The Eibishter himself needs nothing and no one. He's called Yesh HaMiti. He's called Mechuyev HaMetzias. He's called Metziusi Me'atzmusei. All other creations are called Efsherei HaMetzias. We all need him. We're dependent upon him. The idea that La'asad Love, godliness, will be revealed isn't that the Yeshus of this world is going to somehow be changed. In other words, the fact that we perceive ourselves as independent, which is the world's biggest lie, is going to be altered to show a truth. But rather that the Yeshus of the world is going to show itself to be the Yeshus of Hashem. In other words, it's not that this world has to stop being the world it is, but this world has to begin to appreciate where this world gets its self-perception from. The idea that we feel like we're independent and we're self-sufficient is because we're one with Yesh HaMiti, with the Eibishter himself. So it's not a question of changing your condition from a condition of feeling separate from the Eibishter to feeling attached to the Eibishter, but the condition which you have, which is separate from the Eibishter, has to show itself to be the separateness of the Eibishter himself. The truth of our Yeshus is not that it comes from the Yeshus of the Eibishter, but that it is the Yeshus of the Eibishter. The truth of the independence of this world is the independence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when this world shows that its Yeshus is the Yeshus of Hashem, the world is not destroyed. It's not made into ayin. It becomes it continues to be a yesh. But its yesh is not expressing self. Its yesh is expressing the yesh hamiti of the Eibishter himself. And that's what the Rebbe means in these few lines on the bottom of page Nun Gimel and top of page Nun Daled. That Ein Seifam Alubish Berad Law is not a level of godliness. It's God himself. Let's read it one more time. V'yashleim at bottom of Nun Gimel. Yeah. Hatam al zeh sha'idei amshachas pnimi yisatek yegili aluchus b'chol mokem hu. The level of Pnimius Atik, which is the highest level, the fourth level, is the Eibishter himself. Turn to page Nudalad again. It's not a question of one thing becoming bottled to another. It's that everything reveals how it is the Eibishter. To be sure, the truth of Hashem's existence, who HaMetzias shall call on Emtsoyim, is the truth of all that exists. When there's a revelation of this fourth level of godliness, the world doesn't disappear. The world continues to be a world, but the world will be the world that we know, and its Yeshus will be the Yeshus of the Eibishter himself. And that's the concept of Ein Seifam Alubish Berad Law. So I've given you an introduction, which has taken almost half an hour. And I will admit that it's been, to some degree, repetitive, at least the theories behind the ideas, but I believe I presented a new form. In short, and to summarize this introduction, we always have three levels of Elokus. In our Maamar, there's a fourth, usually there's Malay Seviv and Atzmos, and here the fourth level is the Eibishter himself. And the fourth level is not just a higher level, it's a different thing altogether. Because the first three levels are light, in other words, their relationship with the world is from without. Something comes from point A to point B. This fourth level is the relationship that comes from within. And the truth of everything is the Eibishter himself. And it's represented in Avodah by Madani, and in Eskola by the idea that when Mashiach comes, this world doesn't stop being this world, but this world reveals how the Yeshus of this world is the Yeshus of the Eibishter. Now let's go to the Maamar. Umevayer b'hamaymer, Perek Rav. The Rebbe Rashab in his Maamar Padah B'Shalom Tafreshayin He explains, Shal Yedei Shal Osid Love. The idea that when Mashiach comes, The level of godliness will be revealed, will be pnimius atik, ein sof sheberadlo, which is, of course, it's an even higher level than the godliness which was revealed in time of the Shlomo Melech. Because in time of the Shlomo Melech, there was only a Ashidus, Giluyim. Or as I explained to you last week at length, it's the 6th Aliyah as opposed to the 7th Aliyah. Because all levels of godliness, short of this, is the idea of Gila. Gila means it's coming from one place to another place and affecting a change in it. Says the Rebbe, the Gili of Ein Sof HaMelubash B'Radlo, the 4th level, which is higher than Ashiras, about which we speak, Al Yedei Zeh Yum Shechagilu L'mata Yesa, the godliness comes to an even lower level. This highest level, Ein Sof HaMelubash B'Radlo, shows itself in the fact that it's in the lowest place. It comes to the lowest levels. And as you'll see, the Rebbe is going to develop a bunch of examples, aspects. It's like a list of like 4 or 5 different madregas of how low Ein Sof HaMelubash B'Radlo will go. And ultimately, how low will Ein Sof HaMelubash B'Radlo go? The answer is that Ein Lach Davar Shechutz Mimenu. It'll go as low as there is material, reality, because nothing is outside of the Eibishter. Okay, it's written in Kabbalah, Shabaliyas HaMalchus, there's madregas. In the ascent of Malchus, there's 7 levels. And again, I told this to you last week at length, that even in the most unique moments in human history, in the times of Adam before the original sin, in the times of Shlomo HaMelech, there was only Aliyah Havav, the highest level of Malchus, in terms of Malchus receiving from another. The idea that Eishes Chayel Ateres Baila, that Malchus is Etzem higher than Zah, this never was. This is the Aliyah Shviyas. B'mei Shlomo Hoysa Madrega Havav. In the times of Shlomo HaMelech, and this is true also of Adam Rishon Kedem Achet, there was the 6th ascent. Well, also Lavitia Madrega Zayin. And Mashiach comes to be the 7th level. It says that who the difference is, it's not only a difference in how high the source of the revelation is, but more importantly, how low the revelation affects. The Madrega Havav, when godliness is revealed on the 6th level, which is a high Madrega in Kesed, Pnimiyas HaKesed even. Hagil Hu B'Malchus, the revelation reaches all the way till Malchus, but Rak B'Tesfiris Shabbat. 9 spheres of Malchus. It doesn't reach Malchus Shabbat Malchus. It reaches till Yesed Shabbat Malchus. And Malchus Shabbat Malchus isn't reached. Meaning to say, the 6th Aliyah, which is the maximum idea of godliness being revealed from without, reaches the lowest level in as much as it's a recipient for light in some way. Parenthesis. V'hagiloi b'malchus de malchus. To be sure, even the Aliyah Shishis also reaches Malchus to Malchus, but it's Kamei, it's Ayadei Shenichla b'Yesei Shabbat, because Malchus to Malchus is included in the idea that Yesei is receiving it. Says Reb Madrega Hazayin, La'asad Lave, what is the revelation of Ein Sof HaMelubash B'Radlo, Hagilu Gam b'Malchus, the Malchus Kamei Shibim came. The revelation isn't the level of Malchus within Malchus, as Malchus within its own place. What's the type Malchus Shabbat Malchus Meishibim Kaima? It means the Keli. But the Keli which is in no way capable of holding oil. But the very fact that a Keli exists. In other words, you have the idea that you have a Gufa and a Neshama, yeah? And the Gufa is a Kli to reveal the Neshama. And through the Guf, you see what the Neshama is because of the sensitization of the Guf. Then there's a level of Guf which is just Gashmias, and it reveals nothing, and it's not a Kli for anything. Malchus, Shabbat Malchus is how the Gashmias, or the Keli, which is not a keli for any kind of oil, in other words, it's just a thing that is, that's not going to hold any kind of light, shows itself to be a lakus also. And he explains further, the hachiluk the beis aliyas the malchus. This difference between the times of Shlomo HaMelech, when you have only aliyah shishis, and the asad lave when you have aliyah shviyas, or the time of Shlomo HaMelech when you have a gili which is called ashidus, and the asad lave which have a gil which is higher than ashidus. And the Rebbe just told us the difference, that one reaches low, but only the lowest level that's able to receive light. And the other reaches so low that it reaches a level which is not able to receive light at all, but is able to express how it's one with the Eibishter. So the Rebbe connected not to Birudim. And he says like this, Hachiluk beis haliyas the malchus. The difference between two ascents in malchus. Aliyah havav shebemei shleima. The distinction between the 6th and the 7th Aliyah, It's about the sparks that have fallen into klipa. In other words, in addition to the first point, which is that the sixth aliyah reaches the keli in as much as it's a keli for it, and the seventh aliyah reaches the keli in as much as the keli exists, it also has to do with what kind of sparks it's able to elevate. V'ha'inyan hu, and the Rebbe explains, the Yesed, the Nukva, Yesed of Malchus, who is Kashas, Hamakabel Malchus, Bamashpiyah Zoh, it's the way the recipient is joined with the one who gives. In other words, there's a giver and a receiver. There's a duality, there's two. And there is the glue between the two, and Yesed Zoh represents this. Or Malchus to Malchus, the level of Malchus within Malchus is B'derakal, Ke'echapel B'nifal. It's the godliness of the Eibishter, not the way it is joining to receive from Elokus, but the way it's manifest in the world. And accordingly, Bimei Shleim, in the time of the Shleim HaMelech, Shagi Liba Malchus, Rak B'darges HaMalchus, K'misha Sheches L'Zah, Malchus like a keli. And it relates to Zah like an oir. In other words, there's two things. Zah would be the Mashpiyah, Malchus be the Makabel. And when the light is high enough, it reaches very low. But it only reaches the low Madreges and Malchus that are able to receive from Zah, Makabel from a Mashpiyah. And therefore, Gam Allah, the sparks which have fallen, that need to be uplifted, is Rakbe Esam Nitzutzes, the kind of sparks that could feel a divine light. In other words, this is a discussion which you have in Hasidus. Yeah, and I'm going to explain it to you very basically, not very fancy, but very basic. What's the such klipa? What's the meaning of the word klipa? The meaning of the word klipa means that the kedusha is covered over. That's the title, right? Klipa means that the kedusha is covered over. In other words, the very use of the term klipa connotes that there's something good here. Like I tell my students all the time, what is the proof that God created the most severe evil that exists in the world? And the answer is that it exists. If there would not be a spark of God inside that being, it would not be able to exist. Everything is a spark of the Eibishter. And of course, klipa means that something has a spark of Elokus, it gets its chayes from the Eibishter. But because of a whole series of stuff, right? There is Ribei Tzimtzumim, and there's Helim, and there's Acherayim, and there's Makif, all kinds of causes, and there's Golus, that even though everything has a spark of the Eibishter, it's conceivable that the spark of Hashem, which sustains a particular creation, is sustaining it in such a way that the spark cannot be revealed. The difference between Klipa and Kedusha is simple. In Kedusha, the divine spark speaks. The divine spark which sustains, or is the life of, a holy artifact is expressed through that artifact. The Elokus is revealed. Klipa means it's covered over. There's a peel, there's a shell that doesn't allow the spark of the Eibishter to reattach itself to its source, and that's what makes it Klipa. And Birur means to crack that shell, to peel away that peel and that obstacle, that obstruction, and allow the spark to reattach itself to the Eibishter. So it says in Chassidus HaMashal that in Klipas Noiga, which is the less severe of the two Klipas, there's a spark of a lakus covered by a peel, covered by a shell, that does not allow itself to become reattached to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But that spark, which is covered by a shell, is still fire. It's still illuminated. It's still with heat and motion. And therefore, when you crack the shell and you draw that spark to the Eibishter, it's like a light being drawn to a light, a fire being drawn to a fire, because the spark is still alive. And the moir, the source of light, which is shining, draws that spark to itself like a nitzot b'fnei avuka, spark in front of a flame. But then there's another concept. The other concept is called hanitzot atzmei naseh choshuch. That there's a spark of godliness in a klipa. This is shalosh klipas at meis legamri, where the spark of the Eibishter itself has become like the darkness itself. Like in the Lashon HaNigle, chaticha atzmo nasas nevela, as if the kasher itself has become treif. The spark of the Eibush is also blackened. So the Rebbe now explains, Shlomo HaMelech's the highest level of godliness, in as much as godliness conforms to the model of Mashpia and Makabel. That's the limitation. Shlomo Melech his idea, his generation, his time, his kingship, his identity is about the highest level of godliness being revealed in the lowest level of the world, in as much as there's a giver and a receiver, a source for light, and a vessel to receive that light. Says the Rebbe, the godliness which is brought down can trigger, can arouse, can affect the vessel only in as much as the vessel is suited to receive light. Or, the second point, that the godliness of the light which is coming down into the world can reach and uplift and transform, to separate and uplift and refine and include in holiness a spark of godliness in Klippa, as long as it relates to the light, because it itself is a Masha Ein Kain, what's going to be Liyasad Lavi, as opposed to the seventh Aliyah, which is going to be when Mashiach comes. What's going to be revealed? Ein Sof Shabbat Adlah. We already know that Ein Sof Shabbat Adlah means the Eibishter himself. We already know that the concept of Ein Sof Shabbat Adlah is that the whole notion of a mashpia and a makabel breaks down. The idea that the giver and the receiver is no longer true. There is only reality, which is the Eibishter, God himself. So when Ein Sof HaMalubash B'Adlah is revealed, it's not only reaching the other, namely the vessel that's a recipient for it. It's reaching the other on whatever level the other is, because that other is no longer an other. And the same is also true in the second idea. When you're talking about birur and elevating sparks, it doesn't only elevate a spark that has some kind of life, some kind of desire to be elevated. It elevates a spark where the spark itself has become black. Nevertheless, Ein Sof HaMalubash B'Adlah is able to elevate it, because Ein Sof HaMalubash B'Adlah is not a mashpia that's reaching a makabel, but it's exposing everything as a lakus. And even the deepest klippas are also a lakus. And that's the difference between the Madrega of Shlomo HaMelech, which is Aliyah Shishis, and the Madrega of Ashirus, and the Madrega of Asad Lavi, which is Aliyah Shvius, and higher the Madrega of Ashirus. And the Rebbe spells it out. And let's start again. V'lachein, therefore, I'm guesstimating that I am 9 lines into the paragraph on page Nun Gimel Yud Aleph. B'mei Shlomo, in the times of Shlomo HaMelech, that shahagi loy b'malchus, that the revelation in malchus hayirak b'dargas ha'malchus k'mei sheshechas lezah, in as much as malchus is a makabel and zah is a mashpia. In other words, the edele levels of malchus which are able to receive light, and the lower levels of zah which are able to reach malchus. This is where Shlomo HaMelech's Ashirus reaches. And therefore, Gam Allah the Nitzutze is the aliyah of elevating sparks, which are fallen below, is rak be'esam Nitzutze, just the kinds of sparks, sheshayachim lahargan sherelaki, which before they met Elikus are capable of experiencing godliness, and therefore when Oir reaches them, it draws them in like a Nitzutz b'fnei avurka, a spark in front of a torch. Which is, you see, footnote 62, he says, Al derech avuka shemishechas aleh sanitzutzes shudavka nitzutzes shalei nichpu. It's only when the spark is still ignited. Uliyasid love is opposed to uliyasid love. Ve'eshiyilu yigam b'dargas hamalchus k'meishi b'ya. The God, and it says read malchus not that it's a keli for lakus, but the way it goes into the lower worlds of briyatzin asiyah v'alakech apel b'nifal, it's the energy of the creation itself. And therefore, gam hanitzutzes shenisrach malchus, even such sparks that are so far away from Malchus, that we say, Hanitzutz atzmei nasa choshuch, chaticha atzma nasas nevei, lo shalachein, en sheyacha b'tzadas mahagashalaki, by themselves they can't feel godliness, because whatever fire they had has been extinguished. Nevertheless, these sparks can also be elevated, because the Ein Sof HaMalubash B'Adlah doesn't shine a light on a darkness to illuminate it, but it reveals that everything is the Eibishter. Even those sparks which have been so distant, it's as if they themselves have become evil. They also become uplifted and included in holiness. In other words, the Rebbe seems to break it down into more than 2 levels. There's a nitzitz which is margeshed, there's a nitzitz which is not margeshed, and there's a nitzitz which is k'mayra. I explained it before as 2, here it's 3. But here comes the final point. Finally, Shagam Hagashmi Atzmi. Not only the godliness within the world, but the world itself. Parenthesis. Leirak hanitzut shabei. Not just the spark of Hashem in the world, but the world itself. And if I wanted to use fancy language, I would say not just the ayin which is within the yesh, but the yesh itself. Yeh betachas hasachtas belakus is going to be one with godliness. And if you count, you have 5 levels. 5 levels. Number 1, that the Aliyah Shviyas, the Ein Sof HaMelubash reaches Malchus K'meishi Bibiyah. Number 2, Ke'ech HaPel Shabenifel. Number 3, Nitzutzes Shenesrachku, that Einam Shayachim Lahargesh Elaki. Number 4, Nitzutzes Shehem Atzmam Naso Kameira. And number 5, Hagashmi Atzmam. And of course, the last one is the most important. Because in the last one, you see how this 4th level of godliness is so categorically different than the first 3. What does the last one say? The last one says it's not revealing godliness at all. It's revealing God. And when God is revealed, everything knows that it's God, because it all comes from Him, including the daimim itself, including the most lifeless and unenergized and unanimated level itself, the Gashmi itself. Moreover, the idea that when Mashiach comes, you'll see how Gashmi itself, the lifeless material, is one where the Eibishter is lay mipnei she'oz yizgala ke'echeliki shabei, not because the godliness within the Gashmi is going to be revealed. Shemahava eisem yayin liyesh, which makes it come into existence from being an ayin to a yesh. In other words, gila ke'ech hapel shabenifal, you'll see in the physical thing its spiritual source. Ela shagam manifal atzmei yeh b'tachas ha'isachtos. The creation itself will be one. In other words, the first idea is that the yesh will become ayin. If you reveal in a physical thing its godly spark, like it says in the Shari Yuchas Emunah, Chele Gimel ilu nitner reshus la'ayin lides, so the world would stop being physical and become dvaravai. Here we're saying that the world is going to reveal godliness not by stopping to be physical, but that the physicality itself will reveal the Eibishter. And the difference between those two is the difference between the yesh becoming ayin and the yesh revealing that the truth of itself is the yesh ha'amiti. So I guess you would say that the first 3 levels of godliness can make the yesh into an ayin. Ein Sefer Melubash Berat Lo reveals how the yesh is the yesh of the Eibishter himself. Look at the words. Ela shagam hanifal atzmei, the effect, that means the world itself, yeh b'tachas ha'isachtos, to be one with the Eibishter. So it's not that the world is going to disappear, but that you're going to see how the world is alakus. The reason for all of this is the level of godliness which is going to be revealed is the 4th. And the 4th is not just another level, the 4th is the truth of the Eibishter himself. And therefore, the revelation will be in Malchus Shabamalchus. Moreover, in the physical world. The sparks of holiness in physical things, physical things themselves. So in Sof HaMelubash Berat Lo is a whole other category. And it also explains how you can have something which is more than Ashirus, that doesn't make the Ushers Ashirus subjective. There is such a thing as absolute wealth, but absolute wealth is still Yiluyim. Higher than Ashirus is how the Eibishter and the world are one. And now we read again what I read in the introduction, the reason why this is so. By revealing the godliness which is in that law, which is not a level of godliness, but the truth of the Eibishter himself. The world is not going to disappear and be broken down and be burnt up, but it'll reveal how it's the Eibishter himself. In other words, the yesh is not going to become ayin, but the yesh is going to become the yesh of the Eibishter. This level, Ein Sefer Melubash Berat Lo, means the Eibishter himself in general. When you're talking about the Eibishter himself, there's nothing outside of him. Moreover, to be sure, the Rebbe doesn't say that because Hashem is true, we come from him. The Rebbe says because Hashem is true, we are him. The Metzias shall call on Emtzayim is the Eibishter. Not that the Yesh becomes an Ayim, but that the Yesh shows how it's the Yesh of the Eibishter himself. And accordingly, when there's a revelation of Pnimiyasatik, everything will demonstrate its truth is the Eibishter, without it becoming ois, without it losing its identity, but its identity expressing that it's the Eibishter. And that concludes. I'm on page Nun Dalid, 3rd line from the top of the page. And accordingly, we can explain something else. That the idea that there will be a revelation in the world, which is going to be when Mashiach comes. In contrast to Matzav ha'olam sh'haya b'mei Shleim, the way the world was in time of Shleim HaMelech, is gam b'negeya le'esam hadvarim shegam b'mei Shleim ha'oy v'amgil elikus. The Rebbe says, I want you to think about this. Yeah. Shleim HaMelech's times, great levels of light were revealed that transformed great parts of the world. Which parts of the world? The parts of the world that were a keli for it, and the parts of the world where the spark of God that is hidden within them was still alive, still made, and it experienced the source and was drawn to it. You know, when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a higher level which will reach even the parts of the world which are not a vessel for light. It'll reach the parts of the world where the spark itself has been blackened until the Gashmi itself. Says the Rebbe, but you must understand, when there is a revelation of the Eibishter himself, it's not only that now you reach more remote levels of reality, of creation, but that everything that was reached before is reached on a higher level. In other words, Shlomo HaMelech's highest of lights was able to reach quite low and transform those low levels. The Aliyah Shvius, which is when Mashiach comes, is going to reveal in those things the truth of the Eibishter himself. And when the truth of the Eibishter himself is revealed, you don't have to transform or change the Yesh into the Ayin. You have to reveal how the truth of the Yesh is the Yesh HaAmiti. In other words, the accomplishments of Shlomo HaMelech are going to be changed when Mashiach comes. Besides for the fact that when Mashiach comes, you're going to reach levels of darkness that Shlomo couldn't reach, the levels of darkness that Shlomo reached are also going to be transformed. In times of Shlomo HaMelech, you're talking about light. What does light mean? You have a source, you have a vessel, and you have a transmission. And when light hits a source, it changes it. If it's changeable, of course. The idea that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a revelation of higher godliness is not that the light is going to reach the world and change it, but she is Gala Oz, Hametzius Shaloi Guf, that the reality of the world as we see it is Elikus. In other words, the lower level as the world becomes Ois, and the higher level as the world shows how it's the Eibishter. And that's the difference basically between the Aliyah Shishis, Aliyah Shvius, and so forth and so on. The Rebbe concludes, V'zehu v'chasidecha yevarchucha, Perek Yud Beis, that a Yid who's a chassid, because of his extraordinary bittul, is Yevarchu is bringing down a madrega of Havaya, which is called Heidoah, which we discussed, I think, in the second class, all the way till Malchus. Sham Shacha b'Malchus, you bring it down till Malchus, which is called Yevarchu Koi. Koi goes on Malchus. Shenem Shach as Aidei Chasidecha, which comes from a chassid because of his total, his battles. Hu be'efen shel chesed flagas atev. It's an overflowing of good. What's meant an overflowing of good? It can't be more. How could it not be more? Because it's a revelation of how the world is the Eibishter himself. The neith lefazeh first of all, first of all, what Malchus is missing is filled in. This is the level of giving a poor person deimach seirev yatem choyv l'oshrim. Then the Rebbe says, then you bring the higher level, which is that you give the world wealth, which is ein sof to the maximum level, which causes the world to become ois, bottle. And we say to the highest level is you reveal something which is even higher than Ashiras, how the Eibishter himself. And when the Eibishter himself is revealed, you don't change the world, you reveal that what the world is the Eibishter. Stop. Das ist das. Finished. This is really what we learned in the way I started last year, if you remember. The story with the Alter Rebbe and the Mittel Rebbe, where the Mittel Rebbe said that he meditated on great revelations of light, Ashiras. And the Alter Rebbe said that he was made to understand it. How the piece of wood is godliness, which is the idea of Ein Seif Ham Lubish Berat Lo. In other words, what we just read on this page is what we discussed last week at length. Now, we're on page Nun Dalet, middle paragraph, 6th line, where it says, Umevayer Behamaymer. Now, before we proceed, I want to go back and discuss again something which we discussed in the second shir or the third shir, I'm not sure, of this Maamar. And that is that the Rebbe discussed different levels of bittul, right? A creation, a person, serves Hashem. Part of that service is subservience. And the nature of the service and the subservience is reciprocal. To the degree that one is involved with the Eibishter, to that degree the Eibishter is revealed in his life. Right? To give you an example, the halacha is you're not allowed to rely on a miracle. You're not allowed to put yourself in a makam sakana. Why? Because even though the Eibishter is the balabos, and everything is bashgacha pratis, in a world of nature you have to live within the parameters of nature. And yet you have, for example, the story in the Gemara, which I always tell you, that the Nochamish Gamzu was very, very ill. He was laying in a bed, and the house was collapsing. So he told the people to take everything out of the house. And after the house was completely clear, he said, carry my bed out of the house. And they picked up his bed and they carried it out. And the moment he stepped across the threshold, the house collapsed. And of course the question becomes, how could he have risked his life in this way? And the answer is, in his world, there's no way the house could fall on him, because he needs for the house to stand, and the Eibishter is going to do what he needs, because he does what the Eibishter needs. So what's not allowed for one tzaddik is a mitzvah for another tzaddik, right? Like the famous Maamar of the Rebbe, that for another person to make a kli in teva and ask the saramashkim to help him get out of prison is a favorable thing, and for Yosef a tzaddik it's orer hagever asher yiftach ba'odam. Depending on your level, your relationship with the Eibishter is either more direct or less direct. What's the highest level? The highest level is B'chol Ma'odecha. B'chol Ma'odecha has many, many labels. B'chol Ma'odecha is Oisem Etzene Shalmakam. B'chol Ma'odecha is Teirasei Nase. And B'chol Ma'odecha is Teirasei Nase that Malachtacha Nase Sayedei Acherim. Right? When a Yid is so connected to the Eibishter, that he's connected B'chol Ma'odecha in an infinite way, that all of his Gashmiya serves the Eibishter, and he serves the Eibishter in the level of Mesiras Nefesh. So then he's not just doing mitzvahs, he's creating mitzvahs. But there's also the concept of Malachtei Nas Saidei Acherim. Malachtei Nas Saidei Acherim means plainly this: you serve Hashem and the world feeds you. You serve Hashem and the world clothes you. You serve Hashem and the world shelters you, and so on. You do nothing, and Teva provides. It's the highest level possible. That a Yid is so bottled to Hashem, in other words, his relationship to Eibishter is so revealed that he doesn't even make an effort at finding Parnasa. He just learns Teira, and the Parnasa comes from the Teira itself. That's the true meaning of the word Teirasei Nase. Not someone who learns Teira all day and all night, but someone who learns Teira all day and all night, and then the Teira itself feeds him. Usually Teira doesn't feed, Tefillah feeds. Or Amal Malocha, Amal Sicha, but not Amal Teira. A person who's a Madrega of Teirasei Nase, the Teira feeds him, right? So there are certain tzaddikim who were so bottled to the Eibishter that they learned and the food came from heaven, like Mon Mamish, okay? But in our Maimed, there was another nuance. This highest level, which is B'chol Ma'odecha, right, which is called Eisem Etzene Shamak, and it's called Teirasei Nase Shemalachtecha Nas Saidei Acherim, has two levels. This is what the Rebbe said earlier in the Maimed. I don't know what pages. Siv Gimel and Siv Dalet, when he talked about the difference between a Shimon Bar Yochai and a Pinchas ben Yoed. What are the two levels of Teirasei Nase? And by the way, I have indications that from the Maamar of the Rebbe this Kama Madreigas Teirasei Nase. There's a Maamar from the Rebbe which I remember the Rebbe saying, and I think I saw it, where the Rebbe says that the highest Madreig of Teirasei Nase is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai in the Maira, where he didn't even do mitzvahs. Right? We know Teirasei Nase is Padah from Tefillah, but he has to do mitzvahs, except for Krishma. The Rebbe once mentioned in a Maamar, when I was in yeshiva, that Teirasei Nase is a Madrega of Rashbi, where he doesn't even do the mitzvahs, he just learns Teira. It's as if he accomplishes the mitzvahs as Shimon Bar Yochai, where he was in the Maira. So there's different levels of Teirasei Nase. There's different levels of you learning Teira and the world, the Teira, the cosmos giving you what you need. What's the difference between the first level and the second level? The first level is the level of Pinchas ben Yoed. That at least he has to ask, he has to say, he has to say what he needs. The Eibush is going to give him everything he needs, but from his Teira, but at least he's going to have to declare that the waters should split. And then the Madeg of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, where he doesn't say a word. He just says Teira, and the rain comes. In other words, there's a lower madrega of Terasei Amnasei. To use the language of this Maamar, where at least you have a cause and an effect. You learn Torah, and therefore something happens. But the way it happens, it has to be made to happen. And then there's a level of learning Torah, which you can't even call it a cause and effect. The learning Torah and the rain become one and the same thing. And what's going to happen in the rest of Perek Yud Beis, from the words of Mavayir B'HaMaamar, is that the Rebbe is going to introduce us to two different ideas that are associated with V'chasidecha Yevarchucha. And the Rebbe is going to say that these two different ideas are only two ideas on the lower level of Terasei Amnasei, the level of Terasei Amnasei of Rav Pinchas ben Yair. But on the level of Terasei Amnasei of Shem B'Yachai, these two levels become one and the same thing. So let's get to the Maamar and let's read. Okay? Page Nun Dalet, middle paragraph, the fifth line. And the Rebbe continues to explain. The idea that the bridge between Yeducha Havaya Kol Masech and Yevarchucha is a chassid. Right? Yeducha Havaya is the highest level of Havaya, as we discussed. I don't want to repeat it. Yevarchucha is the lowest level of the world. There's Nimshech Til Malchus Sheba Malchus. The Shatchen, the bridge between the highest and the high, the lowest and the low, is a chassid, right? And of course, you know that there is tzaddik, and then there's yashar, and then I think there's tamim, and then there's chassid. Chassid is the highest madreg. What is it about chassid that allows to bridge the highest high and the lowest low? So the Rebbe Rashab writes, "Hu mitzad shnei inyanim," is because of two ideas. Now I'm not good at suspense, so I'm not going to try and just keep you in suspense. The whole point of this Maamar is to say that it's not two. On the lower level of Terasei Amnasei, the level of Pinchas ben Yair, it's a cause and an effect. It's two things. But on the higher level of Terasei Amnasei, which would think of Sheba Yechai, it's one and the same thing. And that's how the Rebbe is going to explain the word Bracha, Yevar Chukai. So let's just read this through, okay? Number one, the first characteristic of a chassid that qualifies him to bring together the highest level of Elokus called Yeducha Havaya and the lowest level of world called Kai is because the degree of bittul. Right? A Yidus, the Madreg of Terasei Amnasei, is totally subservient to Hashem. He has no mitzias. And the Rebbe explains what bittul means in the Madreg of Terasei Amnasei. Okay? And I'm going to preface again. I'm going to tell you what he means. Okay? And I'm going to put it to you in my own words, my own language. There's a chapter in Tanya which is very interesting. And it's difficult to understand what the Alter Rebbe's vision for this Perek is, or was, but still it's clearly distinct, very distinct. And that's Perek Mamav, chapter 41. It's a very unusual Perek. If you pay attention closely to the substance, to the context, to the content of Perek Mamalef, what you encounter is the following. The first half of the Perek speaks the lowest level of avodah. There can't be anything lower than that. The lowest level of avodah is called Yirat Hatah, and even lower than Yirat Hatah is what he calls Avdus, Avedas Ovid. That's the first half of the Perek. The second half of the Perek speaks the highest madregas of Ahav. The first half of Perek Mamalef is the lowest madrega of Yira, Reishas Avedav Ikev V'Shashas Yira Bittel. The second half of the Perek talks the very highest levels of Avodas Hashem, and they're both Ahava. In the second half of the Perek, where he's speaking about high madregas of Ahava, there's two levels. And the Alter Rebbe has a very interesting discussion. The nature of the discussion is this for everybody, or is this not for everybody? Is everybody holding with this madrega of Mesiras Nefesh, or is not everybody holding with this madrega of Mesiras Nefesh? Now, to be sure, if you live in our generation, if you live in Deir Ashvi, if you were raised by the Rebbe takes for granted that we're all holding at the second madrega, and the higher madrega, which basically is you don't serve the Eibishter for yourself, you serve the Eibishter for the Ratzon of the Eibishter. You put aside your interest for his interest. But in Perek Mamav, here's what the Alter Rebbe says. There's a level of Mesiras Nefesh, the lower level is, where a person wants to give away his life to the Eibishter because he wants to be one with the Eibishter. I want to give myself away to the Eibishter to be one with him. That Mesiras Nefesh is very sacrificial, obviously. You're giving yourself away. But it's sacrifice for you. You want to be one with him. Says the Alter Rebbe, this madrega every Yid is ready for. And he goes into a whole thing about Alakai Neshama. Every time you learn Torah, do mitzvahs, any Torah, you're doing an act of Mesiras Nefesh, you're giving away your life to the Eibishter, Male Kotla Kula, Matle Kotla Palga, you could use your time for something else, you're giving it to the Eibishter, it's Mesiras Nefesh. I'm giving me away to Hashem to be one with him. And this, the Alter Rebbe says, everybody is holding by. But then there's the higher Madrege. The higher Madrege is, I'm not giving myself away to the Eibishter. I'm doing the Eibishter's work for him. Kvayocha, what the Eibishter needs done, I'm doing. In other words, my sacrifice is not, I'm giving myself away to be one with the Eibishter. I'm giving myself away to whatever the Eibishter wants, even if what the Eibishter wants is that I shouldn't be one with the Eibishter. For example, Lasas le'yizborech dira b'tachtenim, to come into this world and make this world a home for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, li'achta kutcha b'richu shchente b'tachtenim, and so on. This higher level, where Yid's Mesiras Nefesh is not that he's sacrificing himself to Hashem, but where a Yid sacrifice to the Eibishter is to do what Hashem wants, including not sacrifice himself to Hashem. Fakert exists in a low and in a dark world to be Mamali Ratzon Elyon, says the Alter Rebbe. Not everybody's holding by this. This is a madrega of Tzadikim Gemurim, Tanya Perek Yud, Tanya Perek Mamalev. Like the son who loves his father more than he loves himself, and he's Mesiras Nefesh for him. Says the Alter Rebbe, nevertheless, even though this higher level is not for everybody. Not everybody is prepared to sacrifice themselves for the Eibishter, not so that they should become one with him, but to do whatever the Eibishter needs, even if it's at their own expense. Begashmis and Beruchnis is not the madrega of every Yid. We say it every day. And that's the pshat, L'Shem Yechad Kodesh Baruch Hu Shchinte. Yachad Kodesh Baruch Hu Shchinte B'tachtenim. The idea that a Yid says, I serve Hashem, to bring the Eibishter into this world, to bring the higher level to the lower level, is not the person's interest, it's the Eibishter's interest. And most people in their relationship with the Eibishter have a relationship with the Eibishter based on what's rewarding for them and not what the Eibishter's ratzon. Nevertheless, each day we say once a day, and that's why we only say it once, because not all holding with this madrege. But if we're not holding by it, why do we say it? So the Alter Rebbe answers, because we don't say it as individuals, we say it as part of the community. B'shem Kol Yisrael. As individuals, we're not holding by it. But as members of the Klal, and B'chal and Tanya, you have this a lot, B'shem Kol Yisrael, every Yid is holding by every Yid. So there's an madrega of Mesiras Nefesh. And this madrega of Mesiras Nefesh is not only I'm giving away everything, including my life to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm giving away even my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do what the Eibishter needs from me, which is to bring him into this world, to bring him down. Okay? And that's the bittul of a chassid. So let's go back to the Maamar. 6 lines in the Perek Yud Beis, and we're reading the first of 2 definitions of chassid. The first definition of chassid is that he puts aside his interest for the Eibishter's interest. He wants to be one with the Eibishter wants him to make a deal and he does it. Like it's written in Zeh, this is mentioned in Tanya Perek Yud also. It was mentioned also earlier in the Maamar. Who is a chassid who does a kindness with his maker. In other words, Sha'avedasa, his service, including his Mesiras Nefesh, is leibishvil atzmei b'chdei sheyeh davek b'elokus. Not for his own sake that he should become attached to the Eibishter. Elo l'tzeider gaveya k'mavur b'tanya. Rather, he does it because what the Eibishter needs. And sometimes what the Eibishter needs is the opposite of him being davek in the Eibishter. Going away from that dvekas to make a dira le'yizbarach b'tachtein. Since you're talking about a chassid, right? The highest madrega, tzaddik gomer, who serves the Eibishter with a Mesiras Nefesh. But it's more than a Mesiras Nefesh. It's not just that he's giving himself away for the Eibishter, but he's giving away his relationship to the Eibishter, to do what the Eibishter needs from him, to bring the Eibishter into this world. A chassid, because he has so much bittul, brings down he brings down the Eibishter himself, which is above Gilui, Metzias, Atik, and Pnimius Atik. So the idea that a chassid is the bridge between Yeducha Havaya and Yevarechu Koy is because of his bittul. What's the nature of his bittul? Not that he's totally subservient to the Eibishter, but he puts the Eibishter before himself. His own ruchnius, puts the Eibishter before his ruchnius, before his relationship with the Eibishter. And when a Yid has so much bittul, he's zeicher to bring down Ein Saf HaMelubish B'Rad Lo. That's the first explanation why the chassid brings down the level of Yeducha Havai, the level of Ein Seifim Lubish B'Adla. And then he says more, he explains it. V'zehu, and this is the pshat, zehu chasidim chasidim kene. Right, the Zayar says, who was a chassid, he was kind with his maker. And the Rebbe explained earlier, Maamar kene means zah. And in Tikkun Zayar it says im kandile, which means the Eibishter's nest. So kene means Hashem, right, zah. Kandile means Hashem's world, Hashem's nest. Taiches the Rebbe, the mehabiyurim, the explanation. The idea that you're doing kindness to the Eibishter. By doing kindness to the Eibishter's nest, I mean, in other words, bringing the Eibishter into his world, is since his attitude is one of bittul, where he puts the Eibishter before himself. In other words, he doesn't serve Hashem for his own sake. He serves Hashem for the Eibishter's sake. His Mesiras Nefesh is not even for his own spiritual gratification. His Mesiras Nefesh is about the Eibishter. He's in a position to do kindness with the Eibishter's world. What he brings into Malchus, which represents the world, is laid out not just a little bit, but an Eifin of Chesed Ashiras or L'mayla Me'ashiras. Because this chassid is so totally batal, he brings into the world the highest madregas of Elokus till in Seifim Lubish B'Adla. Stop right there. This is the first definition of chassid. The first definition of chassid is what's the underlying point of chassid according to this first definition? Total bittul. Okay? I put the Eibishter before me. But now comes another definition of chassid. There's another taich in chassid. And the kasha that the Rebbe is going to ask is that l'chayra they're two separate things. What's the second concept of chassid? The davka chassid reveals the level of Ein Seif, Hamalubish B'Adla, the highest level of Elokus, or the Eibishter himself. Because inyan ha-chasidus hu shekeches tiviyim nasim keches alakim. The idea of chasidus is that the natural faculties of a person become godly faculties. Now this concept, that keches tiviyim nasim keches alakim, if you look in footnote 65, he brings a sikha of the Rebbe Rashab in Teres Shalom. But it's one of the 4 points that the Rebbe said in the sikha, which is called In Yonah Shal Teres HaChasidus, or on the essence of Chasidus. I already told you in the first class on this Maamar that the very same Fabrengen, where the Rebbe said this extraordinary Maamar, he also introduced the Sikha of Inyana Shal Teres HaChasidus, same Fabrengen, same Maamar. And if you're familiar with the Inyana Shal Teres HaChasidus, you know how it begins. It begins with a proposal. The proposal is that there are different things written in Chassidus about what Chassidus is. And the way the Rebbe said it in the Fabrengen is a little bit different than the way it appears in the Sikha. But the way it appears in the Sikha, the Rebbe said 4 things. A Chassidus wakes someone up from a faint, that's number 1. A Chassid is Serfan, the Fnimi Shura Sadin, because beyond the letter of law, Frum in all aspects, that's number 2. And a Chassid changes his Teva. He's Meshane Midesaf Ativim, his natural emotions, and then he's Meshane Teva Midesaf. The lower level is Midesaf Ativim, the higher level is Teva Midesaf, and he makes them Midas Alakim. And the 4th idea is idea of Moyach, that you can understand you have a Sagan Alakus, not just Nefesh Alakis and Nefesh HaSichos, but even Nefesh HaBahamas. So Chassidus brought 4 Chedushim into this world, at least that's the ones that the Rebbe brings in this Maamar, to wake up the world from Eis Alphos, Chassid Serif and Lafnim Yeshur Sadin, L'shanes Teva Medeis, L'shanes Medesav Ativim, and then higher than L'shanes Teva Medesav, and the 4th is the Saga of Alakus. And of course, the question in the Kuntis and Yonosh Teres HaChasidus is, when you have an idea with 4 purposes, you have to have an Iker and a Tafel, which is more important and which is less important. And the question that the Rebbe raises is, which is more important and which is less important? And the whole point of the entire elaborate Sikh is that they're all equally important, because in Yechida everything is Etzem, and Etzem, each Nekuda has everything in it. I don't want to chaz the Sikh, I'm sort of reminding you what the Sikh is about for the sake of this discussion. The idea of L'shanes Mideisav Ativim and L'shanes Teva Mideisav is a basic idea in Chassidus. Okay? So I'm going to talk about it. Yeah. Everybody has a personality, everybody has a nature. The personality and the nature of a person is neither good nor bad, it's natural. Or to say it differently, the personality of a human being is both good and bad. because everything natural is ein teiv b'lira ve'in ra b'li teiv. Some people are naturally very happy and very generous, and they also can't sit still, can't learn, they can't concentrate. Some people are very studious and very precise and very exact, but they're very cheap and very withdrawn. So every personality has teiv in it on. There's different types of personality. I'm not a big expert on the subject, but there's Mara Levana and Mara Yeruka and Mara Duma and Mara Shcheira, all different types of personalities. But whatever personality you have is going to have strengths. Because of your personality, you're going to give a lot of tzedakah, you're going to learn a lot of Torah, you're going to be very firm about doing certain mitzvahs, you're going to be sensitive to other people, and so on and so forth. But you're also going to have certain weaknesses. Which means that as long as a person serves Hashem within the limitations of his nature, his service of the Eibush that is not really serving Hashem, it's living up to his own potential. And the idea of a Yid is l'shanes mideis of ativim, not to serve Hashem within the limitations of your nature, but to exceed it, to break out of your personality, like the famous Chassidus, which is brought in the Criterium, that Avraham Avinu had 9 tests, and he passes them all. Then he has Akedas Yitzchak, and the Eibusha tells him, Kach no, and Avraham Avinu successfully passes the 10th test by taking Yitzchak Avinu to the Akedah, and then the Eibusha tells him, now I know that you're God-fearing. So the kasha is obvious. Avraham Avinu, what didn't he do for God? He went through 9 tests. That's not enough. Now he's God-fearing. So the answer that's brought is that Avraham Avinu's teva was chesed and ahava. All of the first 9 tests could have been explained at the base of Avraham Avinu's love for the Eibishter. To be prepared to sacrifice his own son cannot be done from ahava, but it has to be done from yirah, from bittul. So when Avraham did this as well, Hashem says, now I know you've gone beyond your nature. Your nature as a lover of everything, including a lover of the Eibishter, is not strong enough for this. You withstood this test, this is yirah. In other words, at that point, there was no question that Avraham Avinu had exceeded his nature completely. And this is called l'shanes mideis ativim and l'shanes teva mideis. The example which is brought in Torah 8, I'm sure you know it, is that there were 2 Tanoim having a conversation. One asks the other, do I have a chelik in el mabo? So the second one asks the first. I think one of them, Rabbi Yesi ben Kisma. So the second one asks the first, and Rabbi ben Padah maybe, asks the first one, klum ma'isa boli yotcha, tell me something about yourself. So he tells him, agansa ma'isa met mois purim. That he had monies of tzedakah, of mitzvahs, and they got mixed up, and he gave the whole thing away. In other words, he acted generously. So his friend tells him, you have a chelik in elam hava. Yes. So Alter Rebbe in the Maamar asks the question, a Yid is a Taneh, who sits and learns Torah day and night. Basically, the Gemara says, a Taneh. And he asks his friend, have a chelik in elam hava. He asks him what kind of stories have happened to him in his life. He tells him a story about money that he put aside for Sudas Purim. And mit tamol is a tzaddik. And Alter Rebbe says, "Amoid in the kavod." Alter Rebbe says some people learn Torah day and night because they have takbeira samorosh chedem, mas bid melimude betive, mipnei takbeira samorosh chedem. Like it says in Tanya chapter 15, Perik Tezvov. And if a Yid learns Torah day and night because he's a mas bid melimude betive, mipnei takbeira samorosh chedem, on a higher level, he's not serving the Eibishter at all. He's serving himself. And for that, you don't get Elam Haba. But the moment you do something which is outside of your nature, then you're Bal Elam Haba, Ben Elam Haba. So this is what he says to him. You learn Torah day and night. But who knows? Maybe it's your nature. So he tells him a story about generosity. He tells him a story about handling money in the opposite of a constrained way. That doesn't come from the Teva of Marash Cher. They come from the Teva of Mara Levana. So either one or the other, either is a smother in Torah, or his generosity in giving away money to a mitzvah is against his nature. And that's what the exchange is. He asks him to have a chelik in elam haba. So he answers him, do you have examples in your life where you see or you know or you can demonstrate that you've gone beyond your nature? And then you have a chelik in elam haba. And this is the title, l'shanes mideisav ativim and l'shanes teva mideisav. But I want to tell you the difference between these 2 terminologies, right? L'shanes mideisav ativim is the lower level, and l'shanes teva mideisav is the higher level. L'shanes mideisav ativim means to say you have a certain nature. For example, you're very calculated, And because you're very calculated, you're very responsible, you're always on time, everything is very organized, and you're also very disciplined. But you can't part with a penny. You're cheap. Lishanes midays of a tib would mean to go to the opposite extreme. You're naturally cheap. Force yourself to be very generous. Break the nature by adopting the opposite nature. Or the other way, if a person is very precocious and very social and very happy and very open and very generous, but they can't discipline themselves, they can't manage their time, they're not a masmid, so they force themselves into a constraint of morosh cheder, which is against their nature. They force themselves to control themselves. They force themselves to manage every minute. They force themselves to sit in front of Sefer and learn Yom V'Layla until they break the midah. But how do they break the midah? They go to the other extreme, you understand? If your nature is chesed, you force yourself into a mode of gvura. If your nature of gvura, you force yourself into a mode of chesed. This is the lower level. Like the Rambam writes in Hilchos Deyes that if a person has a midah ra, he has to go to the opposite extreme to get rid of it. For example, kas and so on. So Lashanis Midei Zavativ means I have a natural emotion, and I'm changing it for a different emotion. That's the lower level. The higher level is called Lashanis Teva Midei Zav. I have a midah. Whatever my midah is, Chesed or Gevura. The Eibishter made me this way. If the Eibishter made me this way, he wants me to serve Hashem in this way. So I'm going to serve Hashem differently. So the higher level is called, you're naturally a kind person, be a kind person. You're naturally an open person, be an open person. But take the tivius out of it. Don't be what your nature is only to the limit of your nature itself, but exceed it. If your nature is kind until here, you be kind until here. If your nature is to be disciplined and responsible and diligent until here, you be disciplined and responsible and diligent until here. So you're not changing your midah for a different midah. You're breaking the nature of the midah, the limitation, the teva of the midah, what I call in classes that I've given here many times, the exoskeletal containment, right? The shell, which is hard and fixed. You break that. So the higher level is not that you're changing a midah for a different midah, but you're changing the limitation of the midah for going beyond that limitation. The shan is teva midei as opposed to midei sevativ. These are two levels. The first, Midei Sevativim, is a lower level, Teva Midei Sev is a higher level. And I believe that these two levels, they're connected really to Eskafi and Eshapcha, right? Lishanis Midei Sevativim is bending yourself. Lishanis Teva Midei Sev is transforming yourself. And I believe it's connected to the two girsas in the Bavusta Maise. The Alter Rebbe used to learn with the Avram the Malach, Avram the angel. He was a Talmud of the Holy Maggid. And the Mizitcha Maggid, and Alter Rebbe arrived, used to move all the Chavrusas around. By the Mizitcha Maggid, the Seder was that each one of the Talmidim would visit for a period of time, for 3 months or 6 months or a year, and he would arrange that each Talmud should learn with another Talmud, Chavrusa, Nigla, Nisted, and so on. When the Alter Rebbe came, he was only 18 and a half, the Maggid began to move all the Chavrusas around. Nobody knew why, but his real intent was that his son should end up learning with the Alter Rebbe without people realizing that this is what he was doing. And the Alter Rebbe, Avram, the Malach learned together Nigla and Chassidus, and of course, the Alter Rebbe taught the Malach Nigla, the Malach taught the Alter Rebbe Nistir, and we know the story. The Alter Rebbe used to turn the clock, and he said, "Ma'im Gnuvim Yom Toko." The Rebbe once asked the Shaila Pi Alocha and gave an answer. How come it's not awesome? It's not Gnevis Das. But anyway, so the story is that the Alter Rebbe was leaving, and when he traveled home, he used to go by horse. When he walked to Mizrich, he walked on foot, and he go by horse. Like Ansa Mais. So the Malach went along with him to accompany him, L'lavoisei, a shtickl veg. And as they're walking, the Malach said to the coachman, to the Balagola, so shmais the fed, whip the horses. And there's two girses as to what he said next. One girs is, as they zon werden oisfed, they should stop being horses. Or as they zon visnas is anyfed, they should know their horses. So the Alter Rebbe got out of the wagon, and he stayed, and he said, I have 2 more drachim and avodah that I have to actualize. The avodah of an oisfed, stopping to be a horse, and the avodah from visnas ma'afed. The way I understand it, that oisfed is l'shanas midei sevativim, and visnas ma'afed is teva midei. But okay, that's a maimed amuzga. The point is that this process, which is one of the core purposes of the revelation of Chassidus in the world, that a person should not live and serve Hashem by his nature, but should exceed his nature either by breaking it or transcending it and transforming it, is called keches tiviyim nasim keches alakim, that your natural faculties become godly faculties. In other words, your limited faculties become without any limit whatever. Whatever God needs, you can deliver. That's what Elokus is, no limit. So this is a different concept of chesed. You see, the first concept of chesed was about bittul. I put God before me. The second concept of chesed is about transformation of self, is hapche. Says the Rebbe, this second idea is not emphasizing how a chassid is bottled to the Eibishter. It's emphasizing what a chassid is doing is hapcha in the world. So he continues. The novelty, the newness that's going to happen in the world when Mashiach comes. By revealing Pnimius Hatik, which means Ein Seif HaMelubish B'Rad Lo, is as epicham, transformation, is hapcha. Because Abira b'mei Shleima. In time of Shleima was also a beater, but it was at the Eir Shel Amayla, Moshach Elav V'Sanitutzis, Shebaha'amim, that one light drew another light. Ula'asid Yahapoheim Asmam L'Gedusha, not that they're going to become ayin in the presence of a higher aid, but that they themselves are going to become godliness. Again, the same principle. Mashiach is not about destroying the world, but the world itself revealing itself as a lakus, but this is in a way of his hapcha, that the teva should become a lakus. Al derech, and this is similar to keches tivim napachem benasm keches elikim. The Rebbe makes a correlation that just like in the person, chassid means it's hapche to transform teva to lakus. In the world, chassid means it's hapche from teva to lakus. So the Rebbe's question is, we know that a chassid makes this connection. Only a chassid, who's madrai higher than tzaddik and yosher and tamim. I think the word is tamim. There's 4 levels in the Maamar from the Rebbe Rashab. I didn't look them up, but tzaddik and yosher and tamim and chassid. Chassid's the highest. A chassid can bring together yiducha havaya, the very highest level of godliness, till the lowest madrega koi. What qualifies a chassid to bring the highest level and the lowest level together? 2 things. Number 1, bittul. Number 2 is hapch. And the Rebbe's question is that they seem to be 2 separate things. It says the Rebbe l'cheira mashma, it's implicit. Shamshacha de pnimius atik huadei bittul de chasidecha. To bring down Ein Seif, you have to have a bittul. V'zeh shadei amshachas pnimius atik yeh epech alam, in the fact that through bringing down pnimius atik, Ein Seif hamlubish b'rad lo, the world is going to be transformed into godliness, is that the akeches tivim, the chsadim, the chasidim, nasam keches elikim. So the question is that there seems to be 2 parts to a chassid. When a chassid has bittul, he brings on elokus, and when the chassid does his hapcha, he causes that the elokus which he brought down should transform the world, as if it's 2 steps. V'tzarech lahavin, the Rebbe asks a kasha, the lecheira, zeh shadei amshachas gil pnimius atik yeh epech el amim, the idea that when you reveal Ein Seif hamlubish b'rad lo, you cause a change in the world and a total transformation. That teva becomes a lakus. Ein ze inyanei sefer lagila. It can't be 2 steps. When you're magala Ein Seif hamlubish b'rad lo, which means basically what? You're revealing how the Eibishter is everything and everywhere. Automatically, the world is transformed. Ela nichel b'gili atzmei. It's part and parcel of the gili itself. Top of page nun hey now. The kiven shamitis imatza yizbarich. How did I start tonight's class? By reading the bottom of Nun Gimel and Daled, which says what? That the level of Elokus we're currently dealing with, Ein Seif hamlubish b'rad lo, is the Eibishter himself. And the Eibishter himself is not a revelation, it's not a level. It's the truth of everything. So you're not bringing the Eibishter into the world, you're showing how everything is the Eibishter already. No. So if you show that everything is the Eibishter already, where is there room for 2 steps? A, bittul, which reveals the Eibishter, and B is hapche, which transforms the world. They're one and the same. When there's a revelation of the Eibishter himself, so nirgish b'chol davar shemitzusa hi alakus, it's felt how everything is godliness itself. Kanal sif yadalev. V'kivan sh'adei bittul dechasidecha nimshach hagilui. Since the bittul of a chassid, which is what we learned, the first idea in the previous paragraph, which is that a Yid puts the Eibishter before himself. You reveal Ein Seif hamlubish b'rad lo, the Eibishter. Lo matzarach gam. How could you speak of there being a separate idea of his hapcha, the keches tivim shalhem, the keches elikim? Isn't it automatic? That's the Rebbe's question. How can you have 2 steps? V'yashleima answers the Rebbe. In effect, the Rebbe answers that it's one and the same. This hapcha the keiches tivim is gam b'shvil hamshachas pnimiyas atik. It's not that first you have bittul, and you reveal ein seif hamelubash b'dad law. Then you have his hapcha, which affects his hapcha in the world, but it's not. Both points are in the chassid. First, the idea is the kivan shamitas himatzi is barach. The truth of the Eibishter is amitas hamatzias the kol hanemtzayim. Not that when Hashem exists, nothing exists, but when Hashem exists, He is the truth of everything. So long as there's a part of the person which is identifying with itself and not with the Eibishter, whose stira it contradicts. So in order to reveal Ein Seif HaMelubash Law, you have to have both ideas first. You have to have the bittul and the iskafia, is hapcha that is in the person. And only when you have keiches tivim shalei nasam keiches elikim, his teva becomes a lakus. The yeshleima shezeh nasa desh nigish bebehelam al kolponim shamitis timatzi yizbarach hihi ametzias shalei. The idea that a person does his hapcha and transforms his nature into godliness, and the Rebbe says in parenthesis, how does one successfully transform his nature into godliness? By sensing that his whole reality is the Eibishter himself. So first we thought that there is two acts on the part of a chassid, and then there's two revelations of God in the world. Now we're saying that both acts on the part of a chassid happen first, the bittul of the chassid. And this hapcha of the chassid set up one gilui, that when there's a revelation of how everything is the Eibishter, the world is automatically transformed to Elokus. And the way I understand this, the difference between the Havamin and the Maskana is the difference between the Madreg of Terasei Nose of Rapinchas Ben Yoir, which has to be a Gzeira, if you will. And the Rebbe's Kasha is, on this level, how can you have two aspects? And the Madreg of Rishim Bayachoy, where it's one and the same. There's Hapcha and the Bittel reveal the Ein Seif HaMelubash B'dad Law as one thing. And you'll see it in the next paragraph. There's a fellow named the Chassid, which is the highest level of Terasei Nase, right? And so on and so forth. All these incredibly revealed levels of oneness, in tuneness with Elokus. And therefore he brings the highest level, Kol Yiducha Havaya, to the lowest place, called Koi, correct? And it's called Bracha, Yevarchu Koi. Not that they're mispalel, but as if he's a balabas over it, right? Remember we discussed in the beginning of the Maamar the difference between Tefillah and Bracha. Sham Shocha Shaydei Chasidecha Ilei B'derech Tefillah B'derech Bracha. The way a chassid brings down godliness is not as a prayer, which means he's below and he's drawing it down, but that he's above and he's blessing it. Ki b'tefillah, when a yid davens, as we discussed earlier in the Maamar, Shibakosh, as Adam Shashpiu Leimel Maila, it's a request of a person to be given from above. Nirgash, the sense is Shadam Amaspalaleini Elokus. The person is separate from the Eibishter, and he's seeking the Eibishter. But in the Madrega of Chassid, it's because he's one with the Eibishter, and that's the Pshat Bracha B'derech Tzivui. When a person gives the bracha, he's a master over the bracha, and he can command it. His power to give the bracha is because the Elokus is within him. But specifically, you don't even have to give a command. It happens by itself. Was Terasei Nasi. The Pinchas Ben Yair was also Terasei Nasi. But at least the Pinchas Ben Yair had to give a command, Ginoy Naro Pseik Meimech. The Pshim Ben Yochai just said Teira, and it happened by itself. Loi Hoyai De Tziva, there was no command at all. Ela Damiras Teira, simply spoke Teira. K'in Yenat Tziva, Yishayech, the idea of a command. Kishazeh Shem Mitzavim Le'yu Mitzias Nivdal Me'ah Mitzavim. When you have two things, one who is giving the command and the one to whom the command is reaching, then you can have a command. And that was the way I understand the kasha of the Rebbe. If you say that there's two steps, bringing Ein Sof down, and then Mahapach the world, then you have to say that there's two things, a commander and a commandee. But if there's only one thing, and Ein Sof HaMelubash B'dad Law is the Eibishter himself, is Atzmas Ein Sof, where there's only one thing, so how can you have two? So the Rebbe now explains that in Tefillah, there's a command, because there's two. The Mizem, moving which explains Chapa'ul is Begilish Nasai De Tziva Tzadikim, when Tzadikim, who are Madreg, if Terasei Nase, can control the world. But they still need to give a command. Pinchas Ben Yair, like the story of Pinchas Ben Yair, Tziva La Noshi Chalakes Meimov, that commanded the river to split. Dagam shiras tzadikim uras nakadosh baruch hu. The will of the tzaddik is the will of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, they're very bottled to the Eibishter mikom makam sicham utzavis. They have to give a command, sheyeh kibtzenim. And the reason is Mnesha Elam, Bahargashasa, in the experience. The world is Metzias Le'atzmei, which is maybe similar even to the Aliyah Sh'temereg of Shleima. But certainly it's a level where the Elokus brought into the world and the Keli for transforming the world are two separate steps, which is, as we explained in the first paragraph of Perek Yud Beis, that there's two aspects to Chassid which are separate. Bittul, which brings down Ein Sof HaMelubash B'Rad Law, and his hapche in the teva of the person, which makes his hapche in the world. But Rab Shimon Yochai is different. Apizei yesh leimar. Shaydei Rashbi is a higher level of Terasayim Nasei. What's the nature of the level of Terasayim Nasei of Rashbi? That Rashbi and the Eibishter and the world are one. So the Eibishter, Rashbi's Torah automatically affects the world. Shaydei Rashbi Amadrosh B'Pnimis HaTeira. He says Teira Chassidus, Pnimis HaTeira. Nimshagili Ha'atzmas, reveals Atzmas of Ein Sof, which Pinchas ben Yair, even though he was also Terasayim Nasei, but he didn't reach that level. The truth of the Eibishter is the reality of the world. When he says the rain comes by itself, which means that the Hamshach of Ein Seif and this Hapcha are one and the same. This is the pshat that a chassid brings down the level of Ein Seif Hamalubish B'Rad Law till the level of Koi in a way that's called bracha. Bracha means he's a balabayas over it. Moreover, he's a balabayas in such a way that there's not even a tzivui. There's no need for a command that you should bring this down. And when you reveal the Eibishter in his world, ein shayach tzivui. Not only there's no need for a tzivui, there's no possibility for a tzivui, because there's no two. And again, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost sure, that the Havamina, that there's two concepts in Chassid that are separate, is based on the level of Terasayim Nasei of Rab Pinchas ben Yair. And the Rebbe says that cannot be. Because the Madrega of Terasayim Pinchas ben Yair, there's still a world and a Eibishter. And you have to make a tzivui. So that's going to be a lower level. It's not going to be the Madrega of Chassid. Only Rab Shimon bar Yochai, whose Torah makes it rain automatically, is the Madrega of Chassid. And on that level, the Bittul and this Hapcha are one and the same. We've exhausted the Maamar and we've exhausted ourselves. And in Mitzvah Hashem, in the next class, we'll start the next Maamar, which is a hemshech to this Maamar, which is a Chanukah Maamar. Hovin Yin and Chanukah.